to give them what they've missed, which is a campaign. A campaign where we go out and we knock doors and we do all the things the other campaigns in the other communities do. When people ask me, who are your opponents, I automatically say lethargy, ambivalence, and apathy. That's not the name of my three cabinet opponents. But I don't look as my opponents as true opponents. I look at them as allies in helping us bring up that vote. We need to turn up the volume of the voice, but there needs to be a connection between that vote and the delivery of service by that state representative or that elected official. I do not think that that has been strong, and I think that that's indicative in the vote count. I'm out there, this is my third time running for this position. I know the other candidates in this race have run for other positions. I am running for this one because I know the job and I've done the training for the job. And I am getting a very good response out here. I think they need to. I think they need to see that I am going to work as hard in the campaign, and in working hard in that campaign, that will show them how hard I will work as their representative, and they will respond.
You mentioned the quote from JFK. I assume if you're going to quote someone that you're going to live by that quote also. So would it be safe to say you kind of live by the quote?
Actually, I have, and I would say, and perhaps maybe that's why I haven't been elected up to this point. I've been a leader, my gosh, since I was 7 years old when I lived in Germany. My father was a military man, and so service was a part of me. So I couldn't be in the military, obviously, at 7 years old, so I became an altar boy. You know, I served Mass when it was an hour and you rang the bell 3 times, and it was in Latin. And I loved doing that type of service. So that carried on, you know, all the way into college when I was the co-founder of the Boston University NAACP, when we were having problems with President John Silver at that time, who was not one of the favorites of unions. I stood up then and founded that organization, and at that time I participated and became a charter member of the Black Political Task Force, an organization back in 1979 that was trying to empower a community. You know, in my positions as legislative aide and all those positions that I talked about in the State House, when I left, I challenged some of the people that were in those offices. I wrote articles and op-ed pieces for the Globe and for the Herald, challenging them, saying, where are the leaders of this community on crime? Where are they on the building of infrastructure? I filed 11 pieces of legislation in 1998 without any intention of running for office again, to deal with comprehensively. You know, when I was a legislative aide in the State House, a legislative aide for the Black Caucus, the 6 different members and the 7 members, 6 state reps and 1 state senator, put together what they called priority legislation. What it was the pet peeve of each one of theirs. But it wasn't comprehensive. It didn't deal with comprehensive issues. I filed 11 pieces of legislation to rebuild our infrastructure, to improve our education. One of the largest problems that we are having in the city of Boston with students, we have a high dropout rate. 47% of our students that come to East Boston as freshmen don't graduate. And we know that this is because of attendance. So I filed legislation to give free MBTA passes to students that met certain attendance requirements. I filed legislation to build a light rail vehicle to go through, to go and connect Mattapan. The transportation system in our district was better 75 years ago. So, you know, that's what I call leadership, not salesmanship.
My name is Lorna Pleasant. I'm with the City of Boston Elderly Council. And there's a lot of seniors out there that are being neglected. Our advocacy is strong, but our resources are weak. What is it that you feel like you could do to help us to bring, because perfect example, 90% of our budget is employee. It's for manpower. There's no resources other than that. we at the commission need as much as help as any other department. And what is it that you can do for us?
Well, the first and most important thing is to honor you, is to honor those people, because we wouldn't be here without them. And we need to honor them for the commitment that they made to us. We have 4 elderly housing complexes in our district, and I've been out to visit them all. I actually served as chair of the senior salute for the Dorchester Day celebrations, because many of them did not get out. They do not get out. They do not have those resources. I think that we as elected officials, or hopefully as an elected official, have to do a better job of saying, you must invest. You must invest in people. And not just invest in young people, but invest in the people that have made this world the way it is. Our seniors in my district, they're in virtual lockdown. You know, one of the things that we do when we go out and campaign is we go door to door. Some of them are afraid to answer their door. We cannot get them. I'm on the phone calling them. That's not a good way to be. Because when I go out into the suburbs, their doors are open. They leave their cars unlocked. When you can see them in the evening, you see them walking and getting about. That's not the case here. I think that we need to bring the commonwealth to this district for our seniors and for everyone. Does that answer your question, or would you like some more specifics? Yes, I will vote for funding for I absolutely
just give us the money.
Yeah.
We don't want to negotiate.
Well, there are many people that do many good things with it, and I think that we don't appreciate them as much as I do. And as I said, you know, in honoring them, that goes with the whole thing, honoring their security, honoring their income, you know, honoring. And let me tell you something, in some of our areas, we have 70 and 80-year-olds that have gone back. The Urban League is conducting a program training them. You know, we are viable. I mean, 70 years old is the old 50. And it's true, they're out there, and they need to stay active. I mean, that extends their lives, and that's important to have them around, to teach us and to teach our young.
You mentioned the infrastructure. One question that I have, and I don't know if anyone's answered, is do we have any idea or guesstimation as to how much of our infrastructure must be redone, and rather than waiting for Route 93 to fall apart or the bridge in Minneapolis that literally fell apart, do we have an idea how much capital it would take to just refurbish them and just keep them up to status quo? And if it would require money, could the state pension funds that we all pay into be used to finance it, since it would then employ people who would then pay taxes?
I'm a New Deal Democrat. I'm a New Deal Democrat. And, you know, despite what they say, you know, this nickel and diming and trying to cut back on contracts and going after non-union things, we are going to watch our quality of life erode if we don't rebuild our infrastructure. I see it in the schools every day with our custodians. They threatened to lay off many of our custodians, and we were able to mitigate that somewhat. But they are still have smaller staffs, and they are doing patchwork when there need to be capital improvements. They're going to cost us more money in the long run doing this patchwork. I mean, the infrastructure is not going to get any better. The bridge, if it's broken down, if it's deteriorating, it's not going to get any better. So, you know, if you do rebuild the infrastructure, and in my district, there are some parts we don't have infrastructure. As I said, the transportation system in our district was better 75 years ago. And this will not happen unless you have leaders that come out and point to it. This means jobs for us. The Carmen's Union president, I had a great conversation with him, and I think he fell in love with me when I told him that I filed that legislation. But that building that line, that light rail vehicle line, building an infrastructure. When you look at that MBTA map, and that, when you see the biggest space there, that biggest space there is my district. That's what's missing. We need to rebuild that infrastructure. And I don't care how much it costs. And that's what I'm going to tell them. We have waited long enough. You know, the promise to form a more perfect union, to promote the general welfare, was not a promise that was made only when we could afford it. It was made because it was necessary. And I believe rebuilding our infrastructure and refurbishing it is necessary now.